Hello, and welcome to our 10th and final episode of our 2025 live stream series, Wild in the Wetland. My name is Rachel, and I'm a watershed health educator here at the Environmental Learning Center on Clackamas Community College's campus here in Oregon City. I'm so glad that you could join us today. We are going to be learning all about water and how it flows through the wetland. And today out here in the wetland, we have lots of bird activity. We've got ducks walking around and red-breasted nuthatches calling and crows and all kinds of birds. We even had a bald eagle sighting just not 10 minutes ago. It was amazing. So it's a great day to come out and see the birds. And we also have lots of signs of spring here in the wetland. We're seeing plants blooming and leafing out. We're also seeing lots of amphibian egg masses growing in the wetland, or being hatched, being laid, and then hatching in a couple weeks. So we'll have lots of salamanders and frogs here in the wetland coming up soon. And I'm so glad that you could join me, because today we are going to be learning about how water flows through the wetland by putting dye, like a colored dye, into Newell Creek. And we'll get to do our own experiment about how water flows. Now, it seems like we have some visitors. I don't know if you can see them, but we have some mallards that are very curious about the live stream today. So that's exciting. We also have an activity sheet, and you may have one in front of you. And up at the top, the title of the sheet today is Water on the Move, but the title of our episode is Water Flow Through the Watershed. And the first activity is called Wetland Water Flow. And it's split into two parts, because this part of the activity sheet is going to be with our experiment later today. So it's fast water is the first part and slow water is the second part. And for each section it says, predict when fast water or slow water is poured in the model. I think that the collected water will be clean or dirty, and you'll circle one. Then it says, observe. When fast water is poured in the model, I noticed that blank, and you'll write down what you noticed. And it says results. When fast water is poured in the model, the collected water was clean or dirty, and you'll circle the answer. Was your prediction correct? Yes or no? You'll circle one, and then you'll explain. And we'll talk more about why we get the results that we do. And then at the bottom, or below that, it says slow water. So you'll do the same prediction, observe, and results for our slow water experiment. Then at the very bottom, we have our community connections, because we want you to be able to take what you learned here today in the episode and take it back out into your own community. And it says, what are 3 ways that the Water Quality Improvement Channel helps water quality and wildlife? 1, 2, 3. So hopefully by the end of the episode, you will be able to answer those 3 or all of those questions on there. Like I said, I'm so glad that you could join us today. It's our final episode, and we're talking about something very interesting and very real here at the wetland, water flow and how it moves. Now, have you ever been standing in the river or at a creek, maybe in the summertime? People like to go and play in the river to cool off from the hot days, and it can be a great way to cool down and enjoy nature. But if you're standing in the creek, have you ever noticed how the water is flowing? If it's flowing fast, sometimes you can hear it, and sometimes you can feel it if you're standing there. The water really pushes hard against you if it's got a faster flow. And if it has a slower flow, the water, you might not even be able to really tell that the water's moving at all. It can range between fast and slow. And another way that you can tell how it's flowing is by looking at it. Sometimes there can be differences in how it looks. And I have some great photos here that I'd love to show you. Fast water, when you see it, sometimes it can be splashing and moving really quickly, and it can be easy to tell that it's moving fast. And you can also hear it as it moves quickly. And for slower water, it looks almost as if it's not moving at all sometimes. And the sound will be different. You may not hear that loud rushing noise that you hear when the water is moving fast. So as we think about how water moves, besides seeing it or touching it or being in the water, how else can we tell? Well, here at the wetland, we can see how the water flows every day. Sometimes it's hard to tell, sometimes it's pretty easy. And here at the wetland, we have Newell Creek. And Newell Creek starts here at the ELC, and you should be seeing a map now that shows you the layout of our wetland. And up at the top on the left, we have the headwaters of Newell Creek, which is the start of it. And it looks like this. It kind of starts by the edge of a road, coming under the road, and the creek is fed by both storm water and water from underground springs or underground water resources. And that water starts to flow here at the ELC. And as it moves, the next part of the Newell Creek is the forebay. And the forebay looks like this. It's a wider spot in the creek, and it helps to slow the water down. Now, why would we want to do that? Why would we want to slow the water down? Well, there are some really great benefits that come from slowing the water down. When the water slows, it gives it a chance to be cooled down. It brings the temperature down by the shade from the plants in the area. And it also gives a chance for the sediments and particles, and maybe even the chemicals in the water to settle out and to fall down to the bottom of the creek bed. Then that cleaner water, now that those particles have fallen down, that clean water can continue to flow down Newell Creek and will be cleaner for other people downstream. Now, the next part is where the water diverts. It goes in two different directions. Off to the right is the rest of Newell Creek, and if the water is diverted upwards following the stream, it goes up into our water quality improvement channel, which we also call the wetland here at the ELC. And it follows that winding path and continues to slow that water down and gives it a chance to cool down, to become cleaner, and it provides habitat for other plants and animals. And you can see that in a photo here. It looks like there might be some mallards swimming around in there. There's lots of plants growing near the water. It's a really great resource for these animals and for us humans to enjoy. And after the water winds through the wetland or the water quality improvement channel, it comes back to Newell Creek, and they come back together, and Newell Creek is one again, and it continues to flow downstream. So after that water quality improvement channel, the water is cleaner, cooler, and has provided habitat for lots of creatures, and then continues on downstream. Now, we might be wondering, how do we know how quickly that the water is flowing here at the wetland? Like I said, it's pretty slow sometimes, but what if we wanted to see it more clearly or to better understand it? How do we do that? Well, there are lots of scientists that it's their whole job to look at how water flows. And one of those scientists who focuses on water in their research, their name is Rob Livingstone, and he is from Clackamas Water Environment Services. And a couple of years ago, he came to the Environmental Learning Center and did an interview with us and told us about the work that he does and how we can learn more about the flow of water here at the Environmental Learning Center. And he put this safe, non-toxic dye into our wetland, into Newell Creek, so that we could see how the water flows and learn some more. So I've got a great video here to show you of putting that dye in the water. Let's take a look. You can see that the dye is a very bright green. And like I said before, it is not harmful or bad to any of the plants or animals that live here. It's safe to put in the water. Well, let's watch as it flows around the bend there and see how it follows the creek or follows the channel. And it does spread out a little bit. And this video is sped up over time because the water is moving pretty slow. You can see how that dye spreads off to the right, and it's making that whole channel green. And like I said, the water and the animals are safe with this dye. It's okay to use it. And you can see the mallards there swimming around. They don't mind it at all. Big thank you to Rob Livingstone and Clackamas Water Environment Services for coming and doing that interview and testing the water here with us. Now, that brings me to a question. I'm wondering about how water flow impacts water quality. We have this water quality improvement channel here at the ELC, and it's supposed to help improve the water quality, and we slow down the water. So how does the flow impact water quality? And we're going to do an experiment to learn about what the answer is. So when we do an experiment, we follow a protocol or a method, and that's called the scientific method. And this is how scientists do their work and answer questions. First, we start with the question, I wonder how water flow impacts water quality. That's our question for today. Then we predict, and we make a smart guess about what might happen. I think that the water will be either clean or dirty. Then we do our experiment, and we notice and observe what is going on, and we take note and watch carefully what happens in the experiment. And then at the end, we have our conclusion, and we get our results where we learn something new. We may not get a clear answer to our question right away, but at the end of all experiments, we will learn something. So today, like I said, we are going to be comparing fast flowing water versus slow flowing water. And we're going to do that with these little models that I have created using clay and mud and rocks and sticks and plants right here from the wetland. So hopefully you can see a little bit closer. How does that look? Very good. Yeah, so we've got a stream that's flowing through here and the landscape around it. We're going to pour some water through to emulate the river or creek flowing. And then we're going to see what the water quality is after we pour that water through our experiment. So on your sheet, let's take a look at the fast water section. We're going to do the fast water experiment first. And it says to predict. So when fast water is poured in the model, I think that the collected water will be clean or dirty. So make your prediction. Now we are going to do the experiment and observe what happens. So I'm going to grab some water. And we are going to do our fast water experiment here first. I'm going to pour it in fast, and we'll see what the water looks like at the end. Okay, the water's moving quickly and flowing through. What do we notice? All right. So go ahead and take note of what you saw when we poured that water through. Anything interesting in particular? What I noticed was that the water, when it flowed through, it kind of overflowed out of the channel. Because the water was moving so fast, it just started to really kind of overflow and ended up in different areas of the landscape. So that was interesting. Now let's take a look at how the water quality is with the fast flowing water. Can we see that okay? Yeah, so that water is really dirty. Do we have any guesses as to why that water is dirty? Well, I can tell you, it's because when that water moves fast through a landscape, it can knock loose or pick up and transport some of the sediments or rocks or mud. It can pick up all those particles and carry it with them downstream. The water's moving too fast to let any of those things settle out and fall to the bottom. So that leaves us with poor water quality. It's very dirty water. Now go ahead and mark on your sheets as well whether your prediction was correct. It's okay if you're not right. That's the whole point of an experiment, is to learn something new. Now, let's predict about our slow water flow. When slow water is poured in the model, I think that the collected water will be clean or dirty. Circle which one you think it is. Let's do it. All right, so we've got the same model here, and I'm going to pour the water more slowly, and let's see what happens. Okay, what are you noticing about the flow of this water? What are we seeing? All right, so we've poured some water in here. Let's see what the water quality is like. What did you notice as I was pouring the water through? Anything different than the fast water? I noticed that the water stayed really well in the channel. It didn't really come up onto the landscape at all. It stayed right in that channel and flowed right through. And it did take longer because we were pouring it slowly. Now, let's take a look at this water quality. It's pretty clear. Can you all see that okay? It may even be hard to see because the water is much clearer in this white tray, especially compared to our dirty water. This is much cleaner. So why might that be? Why is the water cleaner when we pour it slowly? Like I said before, this is because when we pour the water slowly or the water moves through a landscape slowly, it gives time for that water to let the sediments fall to the bottom of the creek or the river, and it gets rid of all those sediments. It falls to the bottom, and that clean water on top can keep moving down the stream. And that improves the water quality, just like we saw in our experiment here. So go ahead and write down if your prediction was correct and explain why that was. Now, I'm so glad that you got to join me for our experiment today. I think that we learned a lot. I learned something new, and it was lots of fun to do an experiment. But it looks like we're running out of time, and we're here at the end of our episode today. And I have a special guest here to come in with some questions. Sarah is here to join me again. And now's the time to ask questions.
All right. Good morning. I'm Sarah Bidwell. I'm the kids education coordinator, and this has been so fun to see this experiment. It's really interesting to see how important it is to slow that water down
Totally.
to improve that water quality. All right. So we did have a few questions that were sent in, and let's see. The first one is from Alex in Milwaukee. Is asking, how long does it take for the water to move through the wetland? That's a great question.
It is.
Yeah. What do you think?
Well, based on what I've seen here and what I've heard about our dye test, it takes hours for that water to move through. It can take quite a bit of time.
That's right. So before the water quality improvement channel, so that S-shaped snaking channel was built, and Newell Creek just ran straight through the property here. I mean, on a really rainy day when there was a lot of water in that channel, it probably took under a minute for the water to get from end to end. But now with the water quality improvement channel, it slows the water down so much, it probably would take a few hours to go from end to end. So that's a huge difference.
Yes.
It makes a big difference in water quality. Great question, Alex.
Yeah, thank you.
Michelle, do we have any other questions coming in? Okay. Well, that's funny because we have a Michelle in Beaver Creek that is wondering where the water in the wetland comes from.
Oh,
where does it come from?
Yeah, so I mentioned this briefly before, but that water comes from both storm water, from when it rains or snows and that water goes down a storm drain. It can end up here in Newell Creek, but also there are underground springs and underground resources of water. And so together that makes up Newell Creek. Are there any other resources that I am not thinking of?
No, that's about it. Yeah. So as you can imagine, the wetland behind us on rainy days, it just soaks that water up and the water level goes right up and it's doing its job.
It is.
You know, holding that water, slowing it down, cooling it down, cleaning it, so that when it returns to the channel on the other end of our property, it's those 3 C's. It's colder, it's cleaner, and it's clearer. Yeah. All right.
Great.
All right. I think that's all the questions that we've got that have been sent in. And, you know, while Rachel was speaking earlier, Michelle and I were listening to all the birds that were around us. Springtime is such a great time to come to the ELC. We've got rabbits out. We've got all kinds of birds really active right now. Yesterday I came out and right behind us, I was watching a female mallard. She came up on the bank and in some of the wetland plants, she was hunkering down and pulling some plant material around. So it looked like she was thinking about making a nest.
Wow.
And got a lot of birds calling. And yeah, this morning we saw a bald eagle fly overhead. So it's a great time to come out. We're hoping that some of you can come out for field trips this spring. But if not, you can come out. This place is free and open to the public. So you can come on the weekend or after school and enjoy this beautiful site because it's really fun to see in all the different seasons.
Definitely. Yeah. I'm hopeful that some of you can join us for a field trip.
Yeah.
I'll be there. It'll be lots of fun. And I wanted to give a big thank you too to all of our guests on our live stream series, including Sarah,
Yep.
as well as our other guests in the community who have come out and shared their knowledge and their unique interest with us. It's made these episodes a lot more fun and interesting, and I'm so glad that they joined us. So big thank you to all of those folks. It's a great site to come to, and I hope that you all can join us sometime, either with your family and friends or with your school, and come enjoy the beautiful wetland we have here and all the
Yeah.
plants and animals there are to see. This has definitely been a great live stream
Yeah, it's
series,
been a lot of fun.
and I'm sad to see it wrapped up, but I'm glad we did it together.
Yeah.
So thank you for watching. And do you have any other last things to note?
No, we just hope that you come out and enjoy this beautiful place because it's here for you. It's here for all of us.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And I guess until next time, stay curious, get outside to explore, and we'll see you around the wetlands. Bye.